Round 3 of the GT Asia Series for 2014 was from the Autopolis circuit in Japan, and the action started very, very quickly. Off the start, pole sitter Richard Lyons was jumped by both Craig Baird and Roy Aguas as they went into turn 1. Further back, a little bit more action. The Audis came together as they were trying to avoid the Nissan. First time for the Nissan into the GT Asia Series. Teams looking on as the KRM team unfortunately lost both their entries by lap 6. Alex Young, unfortunately, out of this race after contact into turn 1. The GTM battle was just as intense as the race for the front of the field. Roy Aguas, you could see their smoke emanating from the back of the Ferrari after contact. Then surprise, Richard Lyons rolls to a stop. Had to reset the systems in the car, had a gearbox jam. Just as he did that, safety car came out. We had the Aston Martin of the NB team roll to a stop on circuit. That was game over for that team, but what that did is that opened up strategy in the pits. Didn't faze Mok Weng Sun though, watching his team as they effected the compulsory pit stops. You see the NB team, the second car of Max Weiser. He managed to bring the car in, hand over to Kane Jung, and the race continued. Rob Bell very quick to come through the field, but unfortunately ran into the number 38 Spirit of Race Ferrari on his way towards the compulsory stop. Pitted to hand over to Hiroshi Hamaguchi, but up front, the winners of round 1 and 2 at Korea, they got their car back into contention with Anthony Liu working in through the field. After the compulsory stops, it was down to Clearwater. The team were watching as Mok Weng Sun held the point, but he was under attack from Hiroshi Hamaguchi into turn 1. Amazingly, the McLaren spun second event in succession that unfortunately Hamaguchi left the car. Managed to rejoin, came back into the field. Here we see Anthony Liu passing one of the GTM class cars into turn 6. Unfortunately, the GTM class car spun into then the third position Ferrari and put them both out of the race. Francis Chia, meanwhile, back into the GT Asia Series in the GTM car, had got himself right through the order, but managed to get up to position 7 by the time the checkered flag came out. But when it was all said and done, Mok Weng Sun and Peter Sauer managed to prevail and take victory. Very, very popular here for the Clearwater Racing team. Francis Chia crossed the line to take 7th position overall and victory in the GTM class. Welcome to round 4 of the GT Asia Series from here in Autopolis in Japan. Yesterday we saw some fantastic on-track action, and it's bound to get interesting again today. Race 2, GT Asia Series, round 4, 2014 championship, Autopolis International Circuit in Japan. The field's coming onto the front straight for a start, and we see the start controlled by Anthony Liu with Hiroshi Hamaguchi alongside. And of course Mok Weng Sun, the winner of round 3, race 1 yesterday, the 50-minute race, as the field is let go. A clean start this time. Running down to turn 1. Liu, of course, the winner of round 1 and round 2 in Korea, looks to the inside, but Hamaguchi's keen to go around the outside. That didn't work for him yesterday. What will we see on the exit of the corner as the field settles in? Hamaguchi's pulled off the move. The McLaren MP412C shares with McLaren driver Rob Bell, has taken position 1 as they head through the very testing turns 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, it's a mouthful, but it's a lot of hard work for the drivers. Very difficult sector for a lot of these gentleman drivers to come to terms with. And of course, the gentleman drivers are the drivers behind the wheel to start this second race. Sadly though, before the start of this race, we lost the car that had the second position for the start, the number 24 Lamborghini of Delantha Malagamua and young Australian Nathan Antunis. Unfortunately, they had an engine failure yesterday, affected a change last night as we see Kane Jiang there in third place. And we see the spin. We've had a spin. Now, has there been contact there? That's the Nissan GTR. The Porsche that was involved yesterday in an incident at the end of the opening lap, the KRM team car, the 911 GT3R, they may have made contact. They were very closely matched on the grid, and we see one of the Audis with the bonnet pushed up. So there's been an accident into turn 6. Unfortunately, the Lamborghini caught fire on the roll-around lap at the back of the grid. Very, very big flames coming from the back of the car. The marshal's very quick to put that out. That's the number 7 car. Unfortunately, if that will be Jeffrey Lee, a former winner here, as we see the number 5 car, that's Sean Fu. They had dramas too yesterday, so the action's happening on the opening lap here for round 4 of the championship. Takuma Aoki a little bit further behind Richard Wee, a bit reluctant to get past Jeffrey Lee. Jeffrey will be pulling to the pits. Hopefully there's not too much damage there. As we see the SLS Mercedes from Mike Racing make a move on the Lamborghini, the blue Lamborghini of Takuma Aoki, of course the GTM class. Points leader coming into this round, the number 92 Team KRM Porsche returns to pit lane. So he has got going again. We haven't seen yet the second of the Team NB cars. Now we've got more cars off. That's the exit of turn 1. Into the gravel, managed to rejoin. That's one of the Shen Porsches, the GTM car. Oh, very squirrely moment there for Hiroshi Hamaguchi. That has allowed Anthony Liu to close right up on the tail of the McLaren. And Kane Zhang doing a very good job, of course, on the podium at the opening round, at round 2 of the championship, the opening event at Korea International Circuit. The Porsche's returning to the pits. Something dragging behind it, so it's had some rear bodywork contact. As Hamaguchi leads again into turn 1. See a bit of debris on the circuit, may well be from the Porsche. Contact again into turn 1 here, very tight turn 1 at the end of the long straight here at the Autopolis International Circuit. Kyushu Island, the southern part of Japan. Hamaguchi coming under fire from Anthony Liu. He'd be very keen to get past and open up what advantage he can. Of course, one surprising to many people, the opening round of the championship with Davide Rizzo alongside an AF course prepared Ferrari 458. They were the standout performers. There was a situation much like this in the opening round of the championship at Korea where Anthony Liu sat right behind Hiroshi Hamaguchi over the closing laps, and 2 laps from home he forced Hamaguchi into a spin. That allowed Anthony Liu through for victory, and they backed that up the following day with Davide Rizzo at the wheel. Great to see the NB team, Aston Martin from China. Kane Zhang, of course, shares that car with Max Weiser. They also share a car in the Super Trofeo Lamborghini series in the Asian region. Champions last year and are showing very, very strongly today. Unfortunately, again, they're the second car from that team with Joel Camatias and Sean Fu appears to have stopped on the opening lap. It hasn't come up on the time board just yet. So it's Camatias is shown as one of the quickest cars on the circuit. Last lap round, a 1:59. That's okay. We've got an interesting timing monitor up here. But sorry, we'll just get on top of that one. So it's Hamaguchi leading the field. Anthony Liu, second place, unfortunately, whilst holding down position 3 in race 1 yesterday, or round 3 of the championship. We had a GTM class car going into turn 6, lost control going into the braking area of the corner just as Anthony Liu was going up the inside. Unfortunately, the GTM Ferrari spun into the side of the 458 Ferrari GT3, the yellow and red car that's on screen now. We just see under the bridge, that's turn 16, a car's come off there. That's another of the Absolute Racing Audis. It's managed to recover as again Anthony Liu looks for a way past that very wide chrome Clearwater Racing McLaren MP412C. And Kane Zhang continuing to circulate at the pace of the leaders. Last time around, a 1:51.6 for the race leader. So that's broken into sectors. There must be another one. Thank you, mate. Anthony Liu closes up again. Very correctly, Kane Zhang's just sitting there comfortably with a bit of space in position 3. Of course, we've seen these guys all racing together. They've all been on the podium so far this year. Hamaguchi and his teammate Rob Bell from the UK have been on the podium in every race of the series so far this year. A little bit wide into turn 6. That's opened the door, has it now for Anthony Liu. He keeps applying pressure. Hamaguchi will be very keen to make sure that he keeps that Ferrari behind him. He's had a little bit of bad luck so far this championship. He's had a couple of spins, had another spin yesterday, attacking team leader Mok Weng Sun into turn 1, looking for the race lead. Recovered, finished third, but was a little bit disappointed not to have brought the car home with victory. Certainly that car has been right in the box seat to position itself to the top step of the podium so far in every race this year. Kane Jiang now looking to make a move forward. He's obviously making the most of the pace of that Aston Martin and the fresh Yokohama rubber control tyre for this series. The opening laps of this race will be when they will be able to extend their lead and get ahead of the field. So as we cross the line, it's Hamaguchi in the McLaren, it's Anthony Liu in the Ferrari 458, the round 1 and round 2 winners of GT Asia 2014. Kane Jiang, position number 3 in the NB team Aston Martin. Position 4 now is Frank Yu in the Craft Bamboo Racing Aston Martin. Position 5, race 1 winner yesterday, round 3 of the championship, Mok Weng Sun in the Clearwater Racing Ferrari 458. And Carlo Van Dam, who ran inside the top 5 very early, finished 4th yesterday with Tanart Sathian Thirikul in the second of the Craft Aston Martin Vantage V12s, is in position number 6. There's now 9 seconds separating Mok Weng Sun, the winner yesterday, from Hiroshi Hamaguchi. Of course, Weng Sun will incur a penalty during his compulsory pit stop. That will allow the rest of the field to close a little. They will have a 10-second penalty as Anthony Liu looks again to go down the inside on the exit of turn 6, the top of the hill, the first of the hairpins here at the 19-turn, 4.673 kilometre Autopolis circuit. Now, GTM class field, as we watch the timing monitor just refresh. Yesterday, Francis Chia, one of the contenders for the GTM title in 2013, comfortably won the class, finished 7th outright as Hiroshi Hamaguchi closes the door very, very firmly. Turn 14, 15, 16 on Anthony Liu in the Ferrari. That was a very brave move, but Anthony's driving very, very wisely. He's going to try the outside move, which will give him the run onto the front straight. It'll be a drag race between the McLaren and the Ferrari across the front, down the front straight. That has opened the door. There's some waving going on from Anthony Liu. He desperately wants to get past that McLaren. Hiroshi Hamaguchi's doing everything he needs to do. He has the pace in a straight line. Not as much aero grip on that McLaren as the Ferrari in these higher speed corners. Something Rob Bell was explaining to me just the other day. Very good speed from the 3.8 litre twin turbo McLaren V8. Alex Young, after the disappointment yesterday, was collected in an opening corner incident after the Nissan moved across his teammate. We're watching how much closer can Anthony Liu get to the fence as he comes through the final corner. Very, very keen to get past the McLaren. But of course, the McLaren can do what he needs. He can control the race from the front. He's justified to hold his position. He's not weaving. He's not putting in the car or himself or Anthony Liu, in fact, in a dangerous position. So he's fully entitled to do what he is doing. This is the section of the circuit where Anthony Liu will have a greater advantage with the 458 Ferrari. Of course, this seems to be the weapon of choice internationally in GT3 competition this year, and Anthony Liu's putting it to great use. Of course, we saw yesterday 2 Ferrari 458s on the podium. As we look now at Takuma Aoki, the former 500cc Japanese Grand Prix motorcycle rider. He's paralysed now, using hand controls in that GTM class LP560 Lamborghini that he races for Delango Racing. Very competitive at the opening round of the championship, won both rounds, but now has some success ballast by way of balance of performance with these cars. As we see Anthony Liu come onto the straight again, the dust kicked up from Hiroshi Hamaguchi. This could be the best opportunity for the Ferrari to get out of the slipstream. He might look for the outside run. That worked well for Hamaguchi on the opening lap to give him the lead of this race. Didn't work so well for Hamaguchi yesterday. Will the door be closed by the Ferrari? Liu has gone around the outside of Hiroshi Hamaguchi, taken the lead of this race. and that will allow him to open up whatever gap he can before he hands over in his compulsory pit stop. 75 seconds to teammate Davide Rizzo, who was very quick here during practice. Of course, he and Anthony have only been racing for 3 years. So this is their first experience in the GT Asia Series, and it's not a bad debut to come into Korea and win the opening 2 rounds relatively convincingly in the end. So, of course, supported by the AF Course team, the second car, the number 38, Roy Aguas and Nasrat Muzayan in the second of the Spirit of Race Ferrari 458s. Both those cars are maintained and serviced by the AF Course team, of course, the factory support team to the customer network for Ferrari worldwide. They are here supporting that team. They also support the 2-car entry of Mok Weng Sun, of the Clearwater Racing team. For the last 4 years, they have been in contention for the title. Mok Weng Sun, of course, the 2011 and 2012 GT Asia Series champion. 3rd last year, behind Peter Lee and Frank Yu. Sadly for Weng Sun and Frank Yu, they came together in race 2 at Korea. First time after many, many years racing door handle to door handle that actually made contact. That spun Weng Sun around, forced him into retirement, and fortunately for Frank Yu, he was able to go through alongside Australian Warren Luff and get himself onto the podium. You can just see Yu in the background there, raging up on the back of this battle. 4.47 seconds behind now this fight for the lead. He may well be able to catch onto the back of Kane Zhang in that identical Aston Martin Vantage V12 as they get towards the end of this race. You can see Tanat, the young 21-year-old from Thailand, now racing Spanish Formula 3, ranging up on the back of Mok Weng Sun in the Clearwater Racing Ferrari 458 Italia GT3 that won the opening race here yesterday. 50 minutes race distance. We're 36 minutes in. The pit window is now open. You will see in most cases, teams bring their amateur driver, their gentleman driver, into pit lane to effect their change early in the pit window and put the professional driver back into the car to make up what distance they can, as we see a battle for the GTM class. That was the pole sitter in this race, the number 25 Audi R8 of Christian Chia. Of course, making his debut in the championship this weekend. Very much improved, just outside the top 10 in qualifying 2 yesterday for the GTM class. So lap 8. Anthony Liu continues to lead, 1.2 seconds now over Hiroshi Hamaguchi. Position 3, Kane Zhang in the number 9 NV team, Aston Martin Vantage. 3 seconds back. Frank Yu continues to catch the Aston in front of him, now only 2.5 seconds in a rear. Then it's Mok Weng Sun, the winner here yesterday in the Ferrari he shares with Kitasawa. Japanese driver, well versed with the Autopolis circuit, very quick around here during practice. Position number 5, position 6, Tanat Sathian Thirikul, the young Thai driver from the Spanish F3 series. First run in a GT3 car here this weekend. Struggled a little bit to get to grips with the balance of the much heavier and much bigger saloon car, essentially, a car with a roof, GT3 Aston Martin, but very quickly came to grips during qualifying, put in a good effort. Carlo Van Dam, his driver coach and teammate this weekend, was a little harsh, looking at a very tough battle for position here as we go into turn number 1, and that's Christian Chia taking away that position from the GTM class Lamborghini from Delango Racing, Takuma Aoki. The Mike Racing SLS AMGs getting quicker every time around. It's nice to see that car back. Of course, their primary car was damaged in an incident during race 1, the very final lap of race 1, round 1 of the championship at Korea International Circuit just 2 weeks ago. Unable to make changes and repairs to that car, they bought their second car that runs in the Malaysian Super Series, They brought that out of the garage and have brought that through for Michael Chua to take position. Now we're talking about Tanart Sathan Thirakrul. That looks like it's turn number 16. He's come off the circuit there. He wouldn't be the first one this weekend. So that will drop him down the order. Was holding on to position number 6 prior to that. Now last time round, a 150.749, the fastest lap so far for the race leader. Hiroshi Hamaguchi, very wide. Is he going to, he spun. He spun on the exit of turn 1. That's disappointment for the Japanese driver. It happened to him yesterday. Got out on the marbles, turned the car around. Very happy with the pace of the car. They've been very quick this weekend, continued to improve it, but he'd be very disappointed to have spun there again. Now he'll have given that position away, certainly to Kane Zhang, who'll now hold position 2 in the NB team Aston Martin. He'll hand that over to Max Weiser very, very soon. We're looking at a replay on screen. He's just gone in too deep. Got out onto the marbles, tried to keep it straight. You can see him putting in some turn oversteers, just spun him around, and that's disappointment. You can see Frank Yu go through. So he's lost at least 2 positions, Hiroshi Hamaguchi, on this lap. With the pit window open, you would almost certainly expect the McLaren to come down pit lane this time around, hand over to Rob Bell, and see if the Englishman can't force his way back onto the podium and keep their record so far in season 2014 well and truly intact. So as we were explaining earlier in this particular episode of the GT Asia series, round number 4 at the Autopolis circuit in Japan, the front row was to consist of Anthony Liu, who leads this race in the Ferrari 458 Spirit of Race, round 1 and round 2 of the championship in Korea. Alongside, though, young Australian Nathan Antunis drove very well just 7 days ago in the Australian GT Championship in difficult conditions at the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit, driving an Audi R8 for the Melbourne Performance Centre, squirk.com.au team that weekend. He put the car onto P2. They had an engine failure yesterday, just 3 laps into his session, discovered a broken piston, changed the engine overnight. Were very happy. Delantha Malaganua was saying before this race they were very happy with the way things had gone together. It was right to go. They were looking forward to a good, strong race. Discovered just prior to the race that the engine chain had affected a situation where they would start rear of grid. They took the car to rear of grid, and unfortunately, as we see contact there with Francis Tijer and Jackie Jung, or Keith Vong perhaps behind the wheel of that car at the moment as they come up under the bridge. The car caught fire, the number 24 Lamborghini from Delango Racing, and as it made the grid, Nathan Antunis was able to get out. Marshals very quickly put the fire out, but that was game over for them. Very disappointing after at one stage holding the pole position for this race for much of the session yesterday before Anthony Liu managed to get himself up the order, put in a flying lap without too much traffic. Of course, traffic a big issue here at the very tight 4.6 kilometre circuit, or the Autopolis International Circuit here in Japan. Prime position was going to be your starting position for this grid, with very little opportunity for overtaking, as we see 2 of the GTM class cars making a mockery of that last statement. Change of position for one of the Shen Porsches. So unfortunately that was game over for the Lamborghini. They are going to go away now and do some more work to repair the car. We expect to see Nathan Antunis joining Delantha, of course a former champion in GT Asia, back at the next round of the championship at Fuji in July. Okay, so we're nearly 30 minutes into this 50-minute race. Sorry, we're 20 minutes into this 50-minute race. The clock is going down rather than up. We see what looks like one of the lead cars. That's 2 of the lead cars. That's position number 2 and number 3. Frank Yu had closed right onto the tail of Kane coming down pit lane. So you would expect there may be a position change. They have a minimum stop of 75 seconds plus whatever success parity adjustment. I'll explain that. If they finish in the top 3, they incur an additional penalty. 10 seconds, 5 seconds and 3 seconds on top of their 75-second minimum stop. Now, that's pit entry to pit exit. If you go out before that 75-second, you incur a drive-through penalty. Effectively, that's game over. Now, clearly, the Spirit of Race Ferrari team have decided that Anthony Liu's pace is good enough. They don't need to bring him in yet. Last time round, 12 seconds up on Kane Zhang. Of course, Kane came down pit lane, had Frank Yu right behind him. Yu will hand over to Richard Lyons, who's also doing GT300 duty this weekend in a similar Audi R8 LMS Ultra GT3 car. As we see a spin, is that Sean Fu? Sean Fu around. So they've obviously got the number 5 NB team Aston Martin going after the dramas in the opening race. Opening lap, that's at the top of the circuit, top of the first hairpin, turn number 6. He's managed to get that going. Yeah, just a slight spin, a little bit wide off the apex on the exit, applying throttle on the slippery part of the circuit, and around he's gone. He's managed to recover that. You'd expect he will now come down pit lane and hand over to Joel Camatias, former IndyCar driver, who's replacing Andrea Caldarelli, who this weekend is driving in the GT500 class of Super GT. The Italian, a good driver, coach to Sean Fu. They certainly picked up a lot of pace at the first round of the championship, had pole position for round 1 in Korea. Since then, they've had a fairly tough run, an engine failure in round 2, followed by an issue with the car yesterday. A drive belt failed and the car overheated. Joel stopped the car on circuit. That affected a safety car period, which made the race very interesting. It happened just as the pit stop window opened. Some teams elected to pit, others elected to stay out and follow their strategy. And it certainly mixed the order up of things as 3 laps were completed behind the safety car of the first 50-minute race. We're nearly at the halfway point of the second 50-minute race. Anthony Liu on screen continues to lead in the number 37 Spirit of Race, AF Corsa supported Ferrari 458 GT3. Very closely matched to his partner Davide Rizzo. At each round of the championship so far, this is the 4th, they have been very closely matched on pace, which is why the team's in no hurry to bring the car in. 30 seconds now it is showing ahead of Carlo Van Dam, who is now in position number 2. Craig Baird will have taken over from Richard Wee. He will be holding down position number 3, at 53 seconds back from the race leader. And some of those cars have made a pit change. The Van Dam and Baird cars are in pit lane. Takuma Aoki is shown in position number 4 in a car he shares with Mokweng Sun, the 2011-2012 champion. Of course, the race winners here at round 3, as we see the leader come down pit lane, following one of the absolute Audis that he would have been effecting a lap on. One of the GTM Ferraris from Taiwan Top Speed Racing following him down too. So this will mix the order up a little bit. There will be no additional time penalty, 75 seconds. Davide opens the door. Anthony steps out of the car. As we see one of the Craft Astons, that will be Carlo Van Dam rejoin. Joel Camatias behind the wheel of the number 5 NB team Aston Martin. Checking tyre temperatures just to make sure that the car's performing well. They're going to make a tyre change. It looks like they may. It could well be a pressure adjustment. Looks like Frank Yu walking across to his team just to check in, see how things are going, and watch Richard Lyons get the most out of this Craft Bamboo Racing Aston Martin Vantage. Of course, the pace setter here, an unofficial practice on Thursday and official practice on Friday. He explained to me that with 10 years of GT racing under his belt at this circuit, that he probably had a little bit of knowledge that maybe some of the other teams would need to sneak up on. But certainly it was no surprise when he set pole yesterday for race 1 with a 1:47.8 new lap record, qualifying lap record here at the Autopolis circuit. And Anthony Liu and Davide Rizzo were very quick yesterday and reset the race record. As we see now, the GTM class cars, the former race leader has exited pit lane. Now where Max Wise is just coming down to cross the start-finish line. So that could be position 2. That will be Richard Lyons behind him. You'd expect position number 3. So Davide Rizzo has a significant lead coming through turns 3 and 4. Could be as much as 6 or 7 seconds. That looks like Rob Bell further back now behind, yes, in the McLaren MP412C, behind Frank Yu. So Rizzo shown as the race leader, a 1:57.219 last time around as he came down pit lane. You see the slower cars. Well, it's in fact one of the Absolute Racing Audis, a GT3 class car, making life a little bit difficult for Richard Lyons and Max Weiser. Because Weiser shares this car with Kane Zhang. They also share a Lamborghini Super Trofeo in the Super Trofeo Asia Series. Champions last year, leading the points so far this year. That allows young Kane Zhang to get additional miles. The Chinese driver's been very handy and gets better every lap around the Autopolis circuit. He showed good pace too at the opening championship round in Korea. Finished on the podium with Weiser in race number 2. So that was good championship points for them. You can see Richard Lyons is very racy in that Craft Aston Martin. What will be interesting though is tyre wear. How have the tyres stood up to the punishment they got through the opening stanza of this race with the amateur drivers? The pro drivers now will be putting a lot more pressure on the car, a lot more stress on the tyres. They still have 22 minutes of this race to go. They've got a lot of lap traffic to get around, and they've got to make sure that they're there at the finish because as Mok Weng Sun explained yesterday, yes, we've won. We didn't come here to win. We came here to get valuable championship points because to put a championship together requires consistency and finishing races. If you don't finish races, as was the case for that team, of course, he and Kitasawa in race 2 after contact with Frank Yu at Korea, you don't get the points, you're not in the championship hunt. And that team has been in the championship hunt for the last 4 years of the GT Asia Series, so they well and truly know what they're talking about. The 2 Aston Martins on screen. Rob Bell is ranging right up on the tail of his compatriot Richard Lyons. He's been very, very racy every time he's got in the car. Of course, a McLaren factory driver. He's also an Aston Martin factory driver, or has been an Aston Martin factory driver, so he knows the 2 cars in front of him. He knows what the strengths and weaknesses are as Max Weiser now, the Italian, comes under fire from Richard Lyons. Now, does he let him go or does he try and keep him behind? They're both going to be suffering from the tyre wear that the opening stanza of this race has brought about. The performance characteristics of both cars should be very similar. In fact, we see Richard Lyons look up the inside into turn 6. Weiser cuts across to take the apex of the corner, hold his position, dust kicked up on the exit of the corner. Lyons will now be well and truly aware of that chrome McLaren MP412C filling his mirrors as they range up on the back of Francis Chia. He won the class, the GTM class here yesterday, finished 7th outright. Weiser's looking for the outside. Very difficult to overtake here at the Autopolis circuit. Chia just gets out of the way, but that has allowed Richard Lyons to slip up the inside, and now also Rob Bell looking to make the most of that opportunity. That's not a place to be passing as they come through the turns 15, 16, 17, 18 sequence for the final corner and the run onto this long front straight in front of a very, very packed grandstand. Richard Lyons, Max Weiser and Rob Bell as he looks to go up the inside. Francis Chia coming in. There's a drive-through penalty for car number 5. That's unfortunately for Joel Camatias. That's the second of the NB team cars. Of course, the sister car to the blue and white car. The tail of this trio with Max Weiser at the wheel. Rob Bell now position number 2. So this is a battle between the Englishmen. Will it be Richard Lyons, you would say the expert around this Autopolis circuit? Or will it be Rob Bell, the coming man now with the McLaren MP412C? It gets quicker every lap that it does in this championship, because changed from the car that Hiroshi Hamaguchi and Mok Weng Sun shared last year to finish 3rd in the championship for Weng Sun. It is a different car. They've updated it and upgraded it, of course, over the English winter, and has taken a little bit of time for the Clearwater team to come to grips with it. Much of the testing done on a different tyre brand, different to the Control Yokohama slick that the full field of the GT Asia Series campaigns. Of course, Yokohama a strong supporter of the GT Asia Series, the FIA GT3 specification cars. The GTM class, of course, older specification cars mixed in with some challenge cars, Ferrari Challenge and, of course, Carrera Cup cars, or Porsche Cup cars, Super Cup cars from the European Series, as Richard Lyons sneaks up the inside of one of the Team KRM Porsches. GTM car. Now Rob Bell looks to do the same thing. This is the traffic that can cause chaos. Of course, we saw Rob Bell make contact with Nasrat Muzayan in the second of the Spirit of Race Ferraris yesterday, and that could have done damage to the aero on that McLaren. We've seen in the past that when damage has been affected on aero, often that can be an advantage, but only in a straight line, certainly not mid-corner, and there's an awful lot of those. They're very busy drivers on this 19-turn, 4.67 kilometre layout at Autopolis Circuit. So Davide Rizzo continues to lead this race. 4.48 seconds is his lead, but last time around a 1:51.9. It appears to be in traffic. You can see him ranging up on one of the Taiwan Top Speed Racing Ferrari 458 Challenge cars. That is allowing Richard Lyons, who's now on screen, lights ablaze in the Aston a little bit further back. That gap will be down to something like 2 seconds now. This is for the win. 18 minutes of this race to go. Rob Bell right behind Richard Lyons. Max Weiser we saw not too far behind them, just lost position. Keita Sawa is only about 8 seconds further back. The race 1 winner here yesterday, as we see Rizzo dive up the inside on... Oh, look at how close Richard Lyons got, just into the same turn 6. He is pushing very, very hard. That was not quite desperate. It was a well-orchestrated move, but certainly relied on the GTM car having seen him ranging up behind. He's made up wholesale ground this lap. He would have pulled in 3 or 4 seconds on Davide Rizzo. Rizzo, of course, being very careful in the traffic. But that has now allowed Richard Lyons to close right up on his tail. Keith Vong, Jackie Jung in the Tiger Racing Audi R8, and Rob Bell right on the tail. There's not even a car width between these 3 leaders as Richard Lyons looks up the inside and takes the position away into turn number 18. Rob Bell goes with him. That has dropped the round 1 and round 2 winners back to 3rd position. Now, will Max Weiser be able to come through and catch onto the tail of Davide Rizzo? Pace is still pretty good, but it shows on the lap times. Last time around, a 1:56.7 for Davide Rizzo, a 1:50 for Rob Bell, and a low 1:51 for race leader now, Richard Lyons. Position number 4, Max Weiser, just 3 seconds back from the race leader. Keita Sawa, 8.5 seconds back from the race leader. Alex Jung now shown in position number 6. 16 minutes of the race to go. Car 5 now has a drive-through penalty. Of course, we were talking about that earlier. That's the the second car in the NB team, rather. The car that Joel Camatias and Sean Fu share. We saw that stopped on the opening race, obviously rejoined. Sean Fu had a spin at turn 6 just prior to the compulsory pit stop. So there's been an issue crossing the white line at the wrong point during their pit stop. So they have a penalty. So to car number 25, Christian Schier, who qualified on the pole for the GTM class for this second race at the Autopolis Circuit. Lights flashing. Richard Lyons in the Craft Bamboo Racing Aston Martin V12 that he has shared in the past with team owner Frank Yu, of course sponsored by Racerlink.com, a social media giant in the Asian region, ably supported by the Signature Series group. Richard Lyons continues to circulate, still doing a very strong, or still putting in a very strong pace, of 1:51.4 last time around. Rob Bell just sitting in a watching brief. There's 15 minutes of this race to go. Got to be very careful in traffic. Very quick in a straight line, the McLaren. Doesn't carry the aero of the Aston Martin in front of it. Different engines, of course. A 3.8 litre twin-turbo V8 in the McLaren. 6 litre V12 in the Aston Martin. The Ferrari's a 4.5 litre normally aspirated V8. Certainly the weapon of choice in FIA GT3 competition worldwide at the moment. Showed that yesterday with 2 Ferrari 458s on the podium. Take a look back at the results of yesterday. It was Keita Sawa and Mok Weng Sun who won from Richard Lyons in that chrome McLaren. Teammates and beg your pardon, Richard Lyons and Frank Yu in the car that's on screen now. The Racerlink supported Craft Bamboo Racing Aston Martin Vantage were second. Third place was Rob Bell and Hiroshi Hamaguchi in the all chrome McLaren. Fourth, Carlo Van Dam and Tanart in the second of the Craft Racing Aston Martins. A good recovery from them after a frustrating run at the opening event in Korea. Craig Baird and Richard Wee in the third of the third of the Clearwater Racing cars, the Ferrari 458 GT3. Great result for Richard Wee, and just his third race in a GT3 car, and proved to be very strong. Surprised the team with his pace early in the weekend. They'd set him a benchmark time, and they expected that he'd ease himself into that, but within very short order, he was 3 seconds faster than that. So they lowered the benchmark, and so far this weekend he's had a couple of offs, a couple of scrapes with the tyre barriers, but managed to keep the car in a straight line, and for them to finish 5th yesterday was excellent. Craig Baird, very experienced New Zealand driver, of course been a part of the Clearwater Racing team for a number of years in events like Dubai and also Sepang and the Bathurst 12 Hour in Australia. He was saying that they don't necessarily come here for a podium. If they can find one, that's great, but this is a learning year for Richard Wee. They want to get him up to speed to make him an integral part of this Clearwater Racing team along with his teammates. 6th yesterday was Max Weiser and Kane Zhang, and as we said earlier, Francis Chia in the GTM class Porsche, of course one of the title contenders for the 2013 series, also was right in the mix, finishing 7th outright. Now, Frank Lyons seems to have pulled a bit of a gap here on Rob Bell, shown as 1.6 seconds. There's a good 4.5 seconds back now to Davide Rizzo in 3rd position, but there's only 4 tenths now. Max Weiser, as we see, that's the 24 car. That's the Takuma Aoki GTM class car. That's disappointment for the Delango Racing team. They've stopped on circuit. Recovery team have gone out to check that things are okay, because we had the fire in the second team car, or the lead team car, the FL2 GT3 Lamborghini, on the grid this morning. Takuma Aoki, of course, won both GTM class races at the first round, has a success ballast this weekend just to balance the car out so that it is running consistently with the GTM class. And he found the opening race here yesterday, round 3 of the championship. He could certainly feel the additional weight. Felt that the pace of his car was matched more closely to the Audi R8s and the Ferrari 458 Challenge cars that he is competing against in the GTM class, and was looking forward to today to gain himself more valuable points and perhaps extend his championship points lead. Richard Lyons is really opening the gap now. This is where 10 years of experience on this circuit will play in. He'll know where he can pull out a tenth or two each lap. 1.8 seconds the gap, a 1:48.8. That's a very, very quick lap by Richard Lyons this late in the race. 11 minutes of this 50-minute race to go. Now here's the position 3. Davide Rizzo will be mindful of the fact that they were the points leaders coming into this event. They will want to amass as many points as they can, so whilst he will be keen to hold position 3 and recover after the disappointment of a DSQ yesterday, unfortunately they had an incident on circuit and they weren't able to finish the race. They'll be keen to get more valuable championship points, so you'd almost expect he'll allow Max Weiser to get through. He won't make it easy for him, but he wants championship points. He doesn't want to put that gorgeous 458 Ferrari, the Spirit of Race car, in any jeopardy at all. They want to continue to mount championship points after such a successful debut just 2 weeks ago at Korea International Circuit. So Richard Lyons continues to lead this race. Rob Bell, position 2. Davide Rizzo on screen, position number 3, with Max Weiser immediately behind him. Kita Sawa is now just 3.5 seconds behind this fight. Of course, he won the race yesterday with teammate Mok Weng Sun in the Clearwater Ferrari 458. Alex Jung is just 7 seconds further back from Sawa, of course a former Formula 1 driver, Malaysian Formula 1 driver. He is in the Absolute Racing Audi R8 LMS Ultra. Carlo Van Dam now shown in position number 7. Craig Baird, position number 8. Rui Aguas, position number 9 in the second of the Spirit of Race Ferraris. And the Nissan GTR, which we saw involved in an incident on the opening lap, is shown now in position number 10. We'll just check the GTM class order for you as the screen resets. As we watch Rizzo continue to hold Max Weiser at bay on the front straight. See there visibly now, that is Kita Sawa in the Ferrari, of course one of the best exports Japan has ever had in a GT3 car, well versed in all manner of marks. Is the first driver that many of the factory teams look to develop their cars in the Asian region. Good experience on the Yokohama tyres, of course good experience with a range of different cars, has been an integral part of both the Clearwater and Craft racing operations in recent years. Of course, spent some time behind the wheel of a craft racing, as it were, prior to their new association with Bamboo Racing, or Bamboo Engineering rather, this year. Last year, Kitasawa driving with the Frank Yu operation, but now firmly entrenched within Clearwater Racing, and a big part of Mokweng Sun's push for a third championship in that gorgeous chrome 458 Ferrari. Max Weiser continues to apply pressure to the back of Davide Rizzo. 1.5 seconds now the lead. Richard Lyons, Rob Bell last time round into the high 148s. Richard Lyons a 149.2, 3/10 the difference. Best lap for the lead Craft Bamboo Racing Aston Martin, a 148.00. That's impressive pace. 4/10 quicker than the best that Rob Bell has so far managed to pull out. That looks like the Marshals just pushing, unfortunately, that Delango Racing LP 560 Lamborghini, the GTM class car, and points leader coming into this round is pushing that behind the barriers. So Richard Lyons strikes out another lap, 149.7, has gained 9/10 of a second on Rob Bell that last time round. Traffic will have played a part in that, I'm sure. Bell will be frustrated to be losing ground. His chances now, with 7.5 minutes to go, of taking that position away from Richard Lyons is looking rather slim. As Kitasawa ekes ever closer, it's now just 8/10 of a second between the number 9 NB team Aston Martin and the number 3 race winner from yesterday, the Kitasawa Mokweng Sun Clearwater Racing Ferrari. Things are getting interesting, and of course that's what additional driver penalty and success penalty parities and balance of performance parity adjustments to these cars to equalise their on-track performance does in this style of racing, as Max Weiser uses traffic very wisely and takes the position away. That's opened the door now for Kitasawa to close right up on the back of the Spirit of Race Ferrari. The two Ferraris going toe-to-toe as they pass the Mike Racing SLS Mercedes. Coming up to turn number 6, Sawa looks at the back again of the Ferrari. Of course, the balances of times during the pit stops, the adjustment to get each team, if they've been successful and won a race, they incur an additional penalty. The idea is to make sure that these teams are equalised. Nobody has a huge advantage by winning a race and continuing to win races. The FIA rules vary from different regions. Different operations do things slightly differently, but still the basis of GT3 style competition with sprint race and endurance style formats is to have a pro-am style of racing where you have a pro driver and an amateur driver, often a gentleman driver who owns the car or the team, together with a professional racer, put them together to improve the performance of the gentleman driver, but also to make the racing more interesting. It comes to a climax right at the end of a race, as we see 5 minutes into this race. We have positions changing through the field. Richard Lyons now has got away. It's 2.6 seconds to Rob Bell. As we look at Kitasawa, take a look down the inside of Davide Rizzo and very wisely pulls the Clearwater Ferrari out. This race is starting to heat up. It's exactly what we saw yesterday. It's exactly what we saw at round 1 and round 2 of the championship at Korea International Circuit. This is the kind of racing that is the hallmark of GT3 racing worldwide. FIA GT3 spec, of course, developed initially by the SRO operation. They have nailed it worldwide, and it's made racing right across the globe very interesting. And of course, these cars are capable of running in championships all over the world, identical specification to the FIA. And that also makes it interesting. It allows drivers from different parts of the world. We've seen drivers from Australia, Germany, England, China, Japan. Black flag now for one car. We can't quite see what number they're displaying. Can't quite see the officials. He's holding the board out to one of the cars on circuit. Certainly not the race leader. He's on a different part of the circuit now. It's been one of the hallmarks of GT3 competition worldwide and part of the success. We see 28 cars this weekend. There's rumours of over 35 cars in the next round of the championship at Fuji during the middle of July. Of course, the cars stay in Japan for the next round of the championship. 4 minutes of this race to go. You'd expect there'd be just over 2 laps, so 3 more laps of this race. 2.8 seconds the gap, both doing low 149s last time round. A 149.1 for Richard Lyons, a 149.3 for Rob Bell. Max Weiser now shown in position number 3, but well back, clearly caught up in traffic as a result of that overtaking move that he put onto Davide Rizzo. And Kitasawa looks for an outside run around turn 1. One of very few relatively straightforward passing positions. I'm not sure Hiroshi Hamaguchi would agree with me. Unfortunately, yesterday he looked to effect a pass on team boss Mokweng Sun. Very jittery into turn 3 there for Kitasawa. Actually thought about making a move but was unable to get far enough up the inside of Davide Rizzo, who's driving a very wide Spirit of Race Ferrari 458 and entitled to. We drop down the order and look for the lead. It's Francis Chia again. Looks like he's position number 12 outright. He would be the leading GTM class car, shown currently 1 lap down, but will in all essence still be on the lead lap. Just hasn't crossed the timing line now, as we see some of the other GTM classes. Jackie Young crossing the line, and Joel Camatias, good to see him still in the race. Well down the order now after a drive-through penalty for them. And car number 97 is shown as having, perhaps that's who the black flag was being shown to. I may well have been wrong. Decision after race is being shown on the timing monitor. So there's an issue there potentially with the race leader. Now what does that do? Does that put Rob Bell to the top step of the podium? We hope not. The Racer Link Aston Martin completes another lap. That's 25 laps on the ledger now. 2 minutes to go. So they will complete one more lap and then another. So this will be the penultimate lap, the penultimate lap of the 50-minute race, round 4 of the GT Asia Series for 2014, as Kitasawa tucks in under the rear wing of the Ferrari 458 of Davide Rizzo. It's a drag race down to the braking marker. Bangs doors. That's fantastic. Trying to apply pressure to the Italian, but will he get up the inside? No, he won't. Rizzo stands his ground. Of course, a Lamborghini driver in the Asian Le Mans Series last year explained to me earlier in the weekend, Asita dives. Has he done it? No, he hasn't. Kitasawa, manages to pull out of that just in time. Very good move. But Davide Rizzo was explaining they ran in the 3-hour races in the Asian Le Mans Series last year in the BBT Lamborghini. They ran long stints. He said upwards of an hour. So they knew what tyre conservation was about. So I spent a lot of time ensuring that the Ferrari is set up to make sure that for both Anthony and Davide, the tyres on that car are as good as they can be late in the race, and that will be allowing him to hold position. Of course, Kitasawa would have put a lot more pressure on that Clearwater Ferrari to try and make up the ground to get himself back onto the podium. Currently shown in position number 5. Max Weiser has that final podium position. He's just 3 seconds up the road, but is travelling quicker on outright lap time currently than the 2 drivers behind him. 35 seconds of this race to go. So they will cross the line. The leader of this race, Richard Lyons, 3.8 seconds up now on Rob Bell, will cross the line one more time. Officials not looking like pulling a checkered flag out. No. The race leader should be crossing. Yes, they've just gone across the start-finish line. Rob Bell, position 3. He's pulled a couple of tenths back that last lap, but now has some GTM class Taiwan Top Speed Racing Ferrari 458 Challenge cars to negotiate as he comes through the final lap. So it's Richard Lyons, Rob Bell, Max Weiser, position number 3. Davide Rizzo still shown in position number 4. Kitasawa, position 5. Alex Young, position number 6. Asawa again tries to get up the inside of Rizzo into turn 1. The Ferrari Spirit of Race car, the winner of round 1 and round 2 of the 2014 championship, closes the door again, holds position. Sawa applying as much pressure as he can, but Rizzo's not having any part of it. He's positioned that car exactly where it needs to be, keeping the door closed. It'll almost be a desperate now for Sawa if he's going to take that position away. So does he go after championship points? That's an unusual line. That's allowed Rizzo to open up a bit of a gap, got offline onto the slippery part of the circuit. So Sawa hasn't made any gains out of that. As we look one more time at the race leader, Richard Lyons, this is the final lap of the race. The checkered flag will be displayed in just a couple of short corners coming through turn number 17, 18. No, sorry, that's coming up under the bridge. That's turns 15 and 16. going into the final 3 corners of this 4.673 kilometre Autopolis circuit. Richard Lyons was the pace setter on Thursday. He was the pole sitter on Saturday morning, the pace sitter again on Friday, and the Craft Bamboo Racing, lights flashing, crosses the line. That's victory to Richard Lyons and Frank Yu in round number 4 of the GT Asia Series. Crossing the line second, Rob Bell and Hiroshi Hamaguchi keeping their championship success rates of finishing on the podium at every race of this championship so far this year alive. Davide Rizzo continues to lead Kitasawa. Max Weiser takes position number 3. Rizzo is going to hang on to position number 4. A brilliant drive for him. Great recovery too from Anthony Liu to run so strongly at the early part of this race. Congratulations to Kitasawa and Mokweng Sun, the winners in race 1, unfortunately for them, unable to make the podium second time around, but more important, valuable championship points. And we see the GTM class leader, the race winner from yesterday, the pace setter all weekend in this Porsche, the GTM class car, 997 GT3 Cup car of Francis Chia. Of course, running strongly in the championship last year, the last 3 or 4 turns of this beautiful Autopolis circuit. He's going to come through and take back-to-back victories and start to build his championship for 2014. A great drive for Francis Chia to come through and take back-to-back wins in the GTM class. Congratulations to him. And that is the championship. So round 4 of the GT Asia Series. Unfortunately, that's Christian Chia in another of the GTM class cars. I think that's who that was. It's only a couple of turns from home into the gravel. Zoom right in. We might be able to see which car that was. We're looking at a replay. Yes, it was. Looking to go around one of the KRM Porsches that was unlucky yesterday and failed to finish. Got himself bogged in the gravel on the exit of turn 1 for Chia. That's disappointment, and he's stuck. He will not complete this race. He will be classified as a DNF and finishes just 2 corners from home. That is disappointment for him. Michael Chua in the Mike Racing SLS AMG. That's another race under their belts. Car is in one piece. Great for the team from Malaysia. Brilliant drive by him, getting quicker every time out, and we will see them back at the next round at Fuji. But for Richard Lyons and Frank Yu, that's victory here at Autopolis for round number 4 of the 2014 GT Asia Series.
Ready? Go! Congratulations! 見事優勝を飾ったのはカーナンバー21番フランシス・チア。
After 2 fantastic races for round 3 and 4 of the GT Asia Series at Autopolis in Japan, we're off to Fuji, July 11 to 13. I'm Sean Henshelwood. We'll see you there for more great action from the GT Asia Series.